Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Fratello Talks. I'm your host Nacho, and this week I'm joined by my colleagues
Lex
and
Daan.
and we are going to be talking about a recent release by Patek Philippe Cubitus, and we will be sharing our thoughts on today's episode. But before we do that, a little announcement right off the top. We're very soon coming up to our 100th episode, and we're going to be doing a special... Oh, thank you. We're going to be doing a special Q&A, so we would encourage you, our listeners, to leave your questions in the comments down below, whether on the website or on YouTube, and there's a chance that they will be featured on our special 100th episode Q&A. Mm-hmm. So, before we get into the topic, of course, let's do a wrist check. Dan, what is on your wrist today?
Yes, as we're talking about a somewhat square watch today, I thought I'd wear one myself. So this is my new acquisition. It's an infra, but it's made by Levret. And it's a small, tiny... white gold case actually, and it's engraved.
It's white gold. I thought it was sterling silver.
Oh, silver. Sorry,
sterling silver. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Silver.
It's really nice. It has a bit of a.
It's silver.
It's a metal.
Silver.
It's just a little bit. It's a little less precious.
Exactly.
It's
silver. It's silver.
But
the engraving is
nice
super
thing
nice.
is the engraving. Yeah,
it's got a bit of a Ralph Lauren vibe. I like it.
A little bit. Yeah,
it's very cool.
You said that of my Timor the other day.
Did I? Yeah, because you were wearing it on that Bund strap.
The Bund strap.
Yeah. No, but this is a very cool vintage vintage piece right there. Lex, what about you? What is on your wrist today?
It's rectangular. It's it's the Monophase Tribute Small Seconds.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a nice
on
one.
A Casafagliano strap.
Casafagliano strap, really nice. With a not too clumsy balding buckle, so that's really nice actually. So
lovely.
Yeah. But I have a thing with
here we go.
I really want. I've been desiring the reverso for so long. But every time I wear it, I like it. But they always seem to. I don't know. Maybe my wrist
it doesn't sit right on your wrist.
I don't think my wrist.
Your
agrees.
wrist is
you
not
don't have
flat
a
enough.
reverso wrist.
I don't have a reverso wrist, and that is
Or
weird
the size isn't right.
It's too big.
Yeah.
Have you tried flipping it?
Yeah, let me try.
It doesn't.
No, nothing happens.
Okay. Well, now you can't tell the time. It's a monophase issues. No, it's a very cool watch.
It's stunning
for sure.
Yeah,
lovely.
Yeah.
On my wrist, I have a vintage chronograph Suisse. So it's the brand that's not really a brand, but at the same time is a brand. So it was just it's more descriptive than it is an actual brand name. But it's a 37 millimeter 18 karat gold case, pink gold. It's just a nice.
It's not silver.
No, it's not silver. It's also not white gold.
It reminds me a little bit of Ralph Lauren.
A little bit, you think? Yeah, it's the strap that's doing the work there. No, but I really like this watch.
I think it's almost impossible to not like it.
Something like this, yeah. It's just a vintage 2-register chronograph.
Yeah,
and I really don't wear it often enough, and I thought I'd take it out for a spin on today's show. So that's
wear
what we've
something
got.
classy.
Yes, exactly. So how do we get started with today's topic? Obviously, this is now, this episode is being recorded about 6 days or a week after the watch was initially announced.
We're still shaking.
In Munich.
We're still,
it might be all the coffee, but it could also be the watch. But at the same time, it'll be airing a week after, so it's going to be coming in 2 weeks.
The world of watches will still be shaking.
Okay.
This is a storm.
Should we start with the leaks?
The leaks.
Yeah. So
okay, you start with the
it
leaks.
was leaked. It came from this Fortune magazine, right?
Yeah.
And it was a lot of people hypothesized and thought perhaps it's like some sort of AI generated fake or something like that. I think
really
Lex,
wanted it to be.
You were hoping that was the case.
I was hoping. I was wanting.
Right.
I was. For the first time in my adult life, I was actually praying. It was that because I thought this can't be happening. I mean, also in a world of AI, you can AI generate almost everything, and this to me looked like an AI generated Will Smith eating spaghetti.
Okay.
And
we won't throw a clip of that up because
No.
it's there. This is a child-friendly show, and that's just it's nightmares. Most of
No.
my nightmares are made up of Will Smith eating spaghetti.
It is
as
quite, yeah.
generated per AI. No, but yeah, it was leaked. I made a bit of a joke, which was that with the new 30-meter water resistance, Patek should expect some leaks. But
Exactly.
but you know that's
Yeah.
something else entirely. No, I think yeah, it was a bit. It took the wind out of the sails in some way a little, but again,
It did. There was still wind. There's still a lot of wind left.
Right. Well, anyway, so and then
Headwind.
a few days later, the watch was officially announced. There were three. I think there's three initial models: two-tone, steel, and obviously the
The Grand
complicated
Date with the moon face and small seconds.
yeah
in
platinum.
platinum. Yes.
With the baguette-shaped cut diamond.
Yeah.
Lex, why don't you
six.
get us started then? What you obviously were a bit disheartened by this launch. You didn't take it well. You didn't
I didn't
particularly
take it
enjoy
well.
it. Clearly, and but yeah, tell us why you think this is why you think this was not let's say the greatest move by Patek. Just run us through some of your reasons.
So it's the first. Everybody, we saw the same lines everywhere. So it's the first new collection in 25 years. But when you look at it, it's a square Nautilus. There is or a squared off Nautilus. It is a Nautilus in a different shape.
Yeah.
So even when Gégé Lecoultre did the Reverso Squadra, it was still a Reverso. And the Squadra was, of course, the 1931 Reverso was designed in a rectangular and in a square case. So it is an original design. The rectangular one obviously became an icon, but they still had the square one somewhere. And then I think early 2000s or something, they decided to give the Squadra a chance. Well, look at the current collection. It's no longer there. You can find it at Chrono 24. Have a look, especially the chronograph, and see that even the biggest of brands sometimes make a faux pas. Well, so back to the square Nautilus, because I still the thing is it uses all the design codes from the Genta original, and then kind of AI generates the shapes into something else. The dial is a Nautilus. So what are we looking at? I think we're looking at a Nautilus Quattro or Squadra, or give it a fancy name. I think calling it a new collection.
I think
it's a little bit
so
that is a little so that's for starters. So you okay. Call it the Nautilus Cubitus or whatever you. But so this is that is the first thing. So yeah, and then when Emmanuel Guait did the Royal Oak Offshore, he got a lot of bad comments. Mr. Genta himself, the designer of the original Royal Oak, said something about abuse of his original design, etc., etc. So it took a while for people to warm up to it, etc., etc. But it was still a Royal Oak Offshore.
Right. It's a spin-off from the original design, right?
Yeah.
It's
this, but another.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a sub-collection. This is a new collection. That is a little bit difficult. And I think arguably the Royal Oak is the superior design to the Royal Oak Offshore.
Well, it tends to be when design iterations happen, the original tends to somehow remain as the reference, right? It tends to remain as the better. I mean, there might be some examples out there of the case where design through iteration becomes better and better, and it improves. But there's also a lot of examples where the original one is just the best.
And the sub collections build on the success of the first one.
Yeah. And
That's
provides
why you want the sub collection.
It also provides something that the original doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Because the original Royal Oak is very sleek and very
That's
it's
very good
it's
point.
sort of horology
That's a very
sleekness.
good point.
And then the other one provides you with
So what does
more functional
does the Cubitus do on top of the Nautilus?
Well, that's the problem, and I think it's kind of what you're saying is that it almost is a little bit underwhelming because it doesn't offer anything too new other than, hey, the shape is slightly different now. It's a little bit like this Swatch What If collection that came out, where it's like, well, what if it was square instead of round? And in a way,
very much that.
we almost like Patek. We have to admit, it's like a top 3 brand. It's up there. It's in the podium. It's in the Olympus of watch brands, right? It's part of the Holy Trinity and all that. And that's because
expectations are set high.
We've come to expect a lot from the brand. And I think that the fact of doing something like this, it has been a little bit underwhelming. Obviously, the model for people who buy Patek has not been, it's been received either one way or another. People have bought them. You see it online. People have already purchased them.
Yeah,
it's a certain crowd.
What does that say? Does it necessarily say that? Is it a success because people are buying? We also know that people are buying it because they want to flip it. Because as soon as it became available, now go to Chrono 24 and see
they're up there on a
they're
crazy
trying
premium.
to flip it for 200k. Coming back on the offshore and the Royal Oak, what I like about the Royal Oak, that the offshore, is that it has a completely different dial structure. So there are a lot of things different about these two models, and then you look at the Cubitus, and it just has a Nautilus dial.
Yeah. Whereas even the Aquanaut offers something slightly different to the Nautilus,
with the hand grenade dial.
Yeah. And whether you like it or not, you can't. It stands beside it as something completely different, as an alternative, as a different collection, right? It's not dissimilar.
No,
in
it's
some
not
regards,
but
that's you could chalk that down to like, okay, brand DNA. But in a way, with this watch, it's been such a long time in the making, and then we can also get to the strategy side of thing, right? Because in a way, there was like the discontinuation of the steel Nautilus was a very like purposeful move.
Can I have one more remark about the design, because that's also that's also interesting. That's a little bit that happened later, because of course there was a lot of discussion about the design. Is it a new collection? Is it just a square? Well, it's not exactly square, but it's squarish. And then Mr. Stern, the president of Patek, said in an interview that the design was all his, that it was a completely in-house design, and that it was that they took quite a long time to come up with this, and they struggled with everything, and at a certain point they brought in the Nautilus dial because it just looked better. But he also said that everything was done in-house, and that they have, as Patek, they had very bad experiences with hiring outside designers. That's the whole.
I don't understand that. That's completely
such a weird thing to say when everybody knows that the Nautilus is a Genta design, and it's completely hyped up, and. Hey, I don't see Patek as the Nautilus brand, because I was interested in Patek way before that became a hype, and actually I never wanted to buy one, or neither the Aquanaut, when I had the funds to do it, because I wanted to have an annual calendar.
Sure.
Or I wanted something. Patek to me is classic, is complications, and if you want
3940 and that those kind of models that are just
and even a golden ellipse that to me, or a Calatrava. The Nautilus and the Aquanaut are cool and everything, but I think there are nicer sports watches than that. I think the Royal Oak is actually a nicer watch to look at than the Nautilus, but that's beside the point. But anyway. Saying something like that in, I think it was a Swiss newspaper,
a German newspaper,
German newspaper.
Welt or something.
We can talk about that later, because the way Mr. Stern reacted to
the response online,
online was also quite baffling. But
this, you're right. This saying that the the experience has never really worked out of working with external designers. Perhaps it's referring to contemporary Patek, but to say that the words were it was clear cut. It was written in German, of course, but it was very clear that it's never really worked out. And you think, well, it has clearly worked out.
When I'm thinking about modern day in-house Patek designs. I don't mind I don't mind the like the Pilot's collection with the very difficult case construction and what is it, Clou de Paris on the middle case. Yeah. I think they're stunning actually. But modern Patek design to me is also a Grandmaster chime with an engraved case. Well, it's impressive. It's impressive.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but like you also said that obviously, and it was what I was alluding to before, that the obviously the 5711 was discontinued, and that was it was motivated by the fact that the hype was getting a little too much, and Patek basically said to themselves, well, maybe we don't want to become synonymous with just this one watch. I think it's a good move. I think it's you're kind of doing the opposite of what you might expect from a company that wants to make money by selling products. But I also get that respect for hey, we don't want to become a one-trick pony. Yeah. We want the world to know that we also offer many other things.
Of course, yeah. It's silly, of course, that the price of a steel Nautilus, a three-hand just a simple Nautilus goes for 100K online, and for that same money you can also find a perpetual calendar, in a precious metal or in or what have you. And when they discontinued the Nautilus after first bringing out a green version that went berserk, then the Tiffany dial version that went even more berserk. You can question that a little. Yeah. But okay, okay, that's done. And then they say, okay, we want to take the attention of that and showcase that we're into complicated watches.
There's more to the brand.
There's more to
Nautilus.
it. Yeah. But then now you read in interviews that there is Patek should also offer sports watches in the $30,000-$40,000 range. Yeah. So we can also offer that to other people. And I'm thinking, but there's you pull out of that segment because of the hype, because you see what it does to the image. Yeah. And then you come with this. Yeah. What do you think the effect will be? The exact same thing happens.
But also, but not
but
quite.
But now with in some way,
because
now with an inferior product, I would almost say.
Well, I think the product is...
the quality is high quality,
as a product,
right?
it's of course.
Yeah,
it's going to be,
that was to be expected.
Top notch. Yeah.
Okay, I should say inferior design. Then.
So let's say, the product quality is always going to be there. I mean, Patek, it's the movement and the build quality and everything. But sure, design-wise, you can say what you will, right? In the end, a lot of it can also be subjective. We obviously, as enthusiasts, take issue with the fact that it feels very iterative. Even the name, honestly, ending in US and having such a similar sound to it than the Nautilus. It's such a thinly veiled iteration of something that worked, that we got rid of but can't quite bring back. So let's maybe try this, and then I think let's talk about the reaction online. Because I think we're all on.
I also want to say something about the movement, because that's probably also something that I was upset or disappointed a little bit. Yeah. So the movement in the steel and the two-tone automatic is the same as is a round movement that's also in the 5811. So you come with a completely new collection. Your Patek. They make fantastic movements. Why isn't it a shape movement? Yeah. I asked that question at AP when they introduced the Remaster 2. Yeah. The oddly shaped white gold architectural kind of
window watch
inspired by the
well, actually a remake of 7 models they made in the 70s, and there's a brutalist architecture influence, blah, blah, blah. So I asked about that, and why isn't there a shape movement? Well, they said we couldn't do it. We couldn't use an existing shape movement we had because it doesn't live up to the standards. And if we would it would have to develop something, then this watch would cost around 100K. Okay.
Right.
Well, that's, if you see the remaster 2, that's not exactly a commercial high flyer. It will probably sell to it's a limited edition of, I don't know exactly how many pieces, I think 100 or something.
It is very limited.
It's very limited. So it will sell. So you're Patek, and you're going to launch a new collection that is probably going to be a humongous commercial success. Such a humongous commercial success that for the next 4 years you can sell, 5 years you can sell every reference you build for 40,000, for 50,000, probably also for 60,000. Why not develop a square movement?
Yeah. It's very lazy. It feels
very
lazy.
To me, it feels, and of course, in the complicated version, it's there is a 6 patented, etc., etc. Okay, fine, great, and fantastic, beautifully made, and everything.
And again, there was I believe that there was a quote from Mr. Stern himself saying that shaped watches should have shaped movements or something along those lines. Paraphrasing there, but that was also so. In a way, you sort of think, well, then if you say something like that, then and you're a brand with this much reputation and with this kind of reputation, then you got to stick to it. And it did feel a little bit odd to take time to develop this new line, which is obviously, like, we see these initial 3 models. Presumably there will be many more to come in different sizes, but probably, there was also like the main quote from Mr. Stern on seeing the reaction online, which was you could say was the reaction a little bit over the top? Was there a little bit of like dogpiling happening on Instagram? Was it a little bit too much?
It's social media. That's social media. Well, our comment of the week will be a nice comment of the week, but we also see comments that are
sure, of course. And I think that now more than ever, this post-watch bubble, post-hype bubble, and everything, people are a little bit cynical. We see it, we feel it, and we know where people are coming from because we feel it ourselves.
So how did Mr. Stern react to
So he gave this quote, which I can't say exactly, but it was something along the lines of, well, all the people hating in the comments are people that neither own nor will ever likely own a Patek Philippe, so, I don't really care.
A very nice reaction to that was several Patek owners posting a photo of a Patek on their wrist saying, well,
I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't. This is something that.
And at the same time, I think reacting in this way, again, it's not so much the words themselves or what they're saying about the person saying them. It's more like you don't want that from a brand that sits in the space that Patek sits in. Like you expect for there to be either no reaction or for them to just say like, hey, we're above it. Like, but in a way, like kind of pulling a dig like that, it's a little bit, and for me, I don't often think about Patek because I am one of those people that he refers to.
It's a little bit of
quote,
catching Jesus stealing a cookie from the cookie jar.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, Patek is like it's watch divinity. That's it simply is.
And this was a little too. Yeah, a little too sort of too human, not too human, but a little too sort of
It's very cocky.
It's very cocky. I mean, and the I don't know if there is a Dutch or an English equivalent to the Dutch saying that you can. It takes a very long time to build a reputation.
Yeah.
And you can shatter it in seconds.
There's a nicely worded, but it's basically the same thing. Yeah, it takes a lifetime to build a reputation and a second to knock it down.
Is there a Spanish version of that?
Probably. No. I think I don't know.
Otherwise,
can't bring it up off the top of my head.
Okay. This is also what I'm watching this in amazement now for a week. Yeah. First was the build up, where you hope and pray that it's not real. It turns out to be real.
Right.
then you also, I also found it very amusing to see our fellow journalists react to it and saying,
someone predicted it.
And also someone saying it's not as bad as I thought.
Yeah, I think it was Zach Kazan from Morning One who said
great reaction.
That would be the reaction. He said, "Oh, as soon as people see it, that's going to be the reaction."
Oh, but it's much better in the metal.
Yeah. And we should say, just for transparency's sake, we haven't seen it. Lex, you'll probably check it out at some point. You'll be off to Geneva today, and probably be able to see it.
But at the same time, quality will be immaculate.
Yeah, that's the thing. So
we're absolutely nothing to say
as a product and as a timekeeping instrument. There's nothing to be said about it.
But that's the whole thing.
It's a little bit the idea behind it, and
but you don't buy a piece of metal we're not in this world to buy pieces of metal. We buy stories, we buy reputations, we buy design, we buy a feeling and an emotion.
There's a romantic idea behind
what
everything.
Is the emotion that is surrounding the squareless? It's
squareless. I don't know. What did you think, Dan, about the online reaction? Did you think that it was a little bit?
He was one of the most frequent commenters.
Exactly. I was there.
Everywhere.
I
love it.
It's difficult because the opinion was already made before the watch was actually launched.
Yeah.
And so it's very difficult now to make your own opinion about it. And I also haven't seen it, so I expect it to be very big as well. That's why.
It's also
45 millimeters.
But then again, if my wrist has the right
shape, the square Cubitus shape, or maybe you should just wear it on your Cubitus.
Right?
Yeah. This is actually called a Cubitus, right?
Yeah,
your elbow.
Yeah,
but so that's the thing about social media. Of
course,
it's very difficult to form your own opinion about it. But it's not very original when you see the watch.
There's also, I feel that in a way, what the reaction showed was that there's also this sort of like Schadenfreude thing of seeing such a large brand with such an immaculate reputation for it felt like Patek can never get it wrong, a little bit like Rolex just feels like this brand. We did a podcast a while ago, talked about like why Rolex never misses or never fails, and it's usually they don't take a lot of chances, right? But at the same time they still iterate and bring out new models and things like this.
But when we say that the deep sea is in full gold is bad, they don't care. They don't care that we say it's bad. Also, they won't react. Nobody. And Mr. Dufour doesn't take to the press and say, "I don't care if you don't like it because then you can never afford it anyway." He would never do that.
That's kind of the thing, and that's sort of what kind of it was a bit of like a glass shattering moment where suddenly like you saw this sort of. The mask came off a little bit, and it sort of I mean it was not a great look, and it was not a great reaction, and at the same time, it's still very Patek. There's like a pair of cufflinks made in the shape of the watch,
which is also completely paradoxical.
Well, to me, that kind of removes the whole. This is for a new young generation. And I think, well, who under 40 has a French cuffed shirt? Maybe some people, but I don't know. It's a little bit like.
It also the reactions also threw me back when AP launched the Code 1159,
right?
And so I can't quite remember when it was. But it was during when Watches and Wonders was still called SCSH.
Yeah, SHH.
Oh, sorry. SIHH. And they came out with something completely new, but with the octagonal mid case that referred to the Royal Oak. And most criticism was because of the dials,
right?
But the storm online was also immense, and you could also feel then the sentiments were also a little bit anti-Benamias, because he's a very outspoken
he's quite a polarizing
man. He's a polarizing leader, absolutely. So there you have this fantastic brand that does something new, and then I do agree that the initial dials on the three hand were on the automatic were really really bad, while the Aventurine dialed model was already spectacular. Build quality is off the charts. It's fantastic. The construction of the case is
it looks amazing,
innovative, and now they have adapted the dials. And not too long ago, I saw I think it's a 41 millimeter blue with a new dial. And I think it is a gorgeous one.
These new guilloche dials are.
It's not guilloche.
But textured dials.
Textured dials, and yes, they're expensive, and of course. It's AP, but the build quality and the looks, and what I find interesting is that watch kind of bridges the gap between a sports watch and a dress watch, and it really feels like a watch that matches the way we dress nowadays.
Sure.
But with a certain style, so not all you don't have to wear a dive watch every time,
but no one's wearing a two-handed dress watch. Well, some people of course are, but it's a less popular.
So I somehow when giving it some time, they improved it, etc., etc. So my point is, maybe.
It gets better over time.
This could get better over time, but the sad thing is, in my opinion, in the code 1159 doesn't remind you of anything.
No,
even
it harkens back, but it's still its own thing.
It's completely its own thing, and even the octagonal mid case, I think they could have done without it.
There's no bracelet. It's very different.
But that was the thing, right?
But it's his own thing, and the Cubitus is just not its own thing. It will always remind you of a Nautilus, and what it also does is remind you of the genius that was Gerald Genta. But because what I just look at the bezels, just look at the size and the proportion of the bezels and the way they are shaped. You see the nautical idea of the original Nautilus. You see the proportions. You see the function and the shape it has, and how it. Well, as the dude says, it really ties the rug really tied the room together. That whole thing, that bezel kind of ties everything together. On the new one, it's just a bezel sitting there. It's just everything is just a thing.
It feels like they took the Photoshop liquify tool and just sort of jammed it to fit four corners, and in a way, that is the problem. That the Code 1159 was able to work out. They were able to iron out the kinks. They were able to have it grow into something and mature into something. But now, in hindsight, you sort of go, okay. They knew what they were doing, they knew where they were going, and they managed to kind of take the awkward phase and grow into its features, and then become quite an interesting watch. Whereas the Cubitus, I think, will always be a little bit almost haunted by the Nautilus, and just even the name and everything. It's just a little too on the nose. And I get that there will be a generation of nouveau riche collectors or people that are getting into watches, people with money who can just buy these watches and they'll enjoy them. And the larger size, sure, it opens it up to a certain clientele, because I'm sure that there were people saying that the Nautilus was too small for their big American wrists or something. I don't know. And it
this
just
is big enough.
Have you ever tried the chronograph?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. But anyway, it still feels like we would have expected something a little bit better, a little bit more interesting, and I think the biggest issue is that we all know that Patek could have done something. It's sort of an open goal, really, and even if you think about it, 2026 is the 50th anniversary of the Nautilus, so they could have just brought it back then. I mean, then you could argue that then the hype would have almost died down. We all see this chart where post-COVID everything starts going down. The hype is sort of dying out, and then it would have been almost the perfect time to bring back the Nautilus. Sure, it's a short hiatus, but
you mean like a steel version of the
just
58
exactly, and bring it back, and then just do a two-hander version. So harkening back to the 3700. I mean, that could have been fantastic as well, and it's only 2 years away. But then you think, well, what happens now in the 50th anniversary? Do they wait till the 100th, 75th?
Well, Mr. Stern has a lot of ideas.
Of course, and we'll see them all within the square, the 4x3 aspect ratio of the Cubitus. I don't know. It's I think
is it
for
a
us,
4x3.
no, I don't know. If it's 4x3, but it just reminds me of the Instagram post. It's 4x3. It might be a 4x4, actually, perfectly square. But anyway, it's I
That's
think
what they
think,
have called the Nautilus 4x4.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It's something that to us it was not too impressed. We were not too impressed, especially you, Lex. And we'll have to see. Like I said, you'll see it in person.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll exactly be eating crow anytime soon, but who knows? It's and with that, let's get to our comment of the week. This week, the comment comes from the Training Coop.
What?
The Training Coop.
What is a Training Coop?
It's the username of the person who commented. But I don't know.
What is a coop? A coop? Is that like a
suppose
coupe car?
it's some sort of cockfighting place where the chickens
the
train.
Coop. The coop.
chicken coop.
The chicken coop.
I don't know. The Training Coop, for whatever reason. Maybe
where
they can
train the
explain in the
chickens.
comment. Let's get to the comment.
Sorry.
And they said, I really enjoyed this lighthearted podcast, guys. Obviously referring to is there lightheartedness and humor in
I
watches?
had some really nice reactions on that.
And also he says, and you exposed me to a few watches I had not previously heard of and others I had forgotten about. Well done.
Nice.
Perfect. I think we can wrap it up there, and just of course, as always, ask our listeners to leave their thoughts in the comments down below. We would obviously love to hear some different perspectives, or if you agree with us, then also let us know. And of course, remember to leave some questions for the 100th episode Q&A, also in the comments down below, whether on the site or YouTube. We'll get to them. And as always, of course, thank you for tuning into this episode of Fratello Talks. We'll see you next week.